there's a tremendous amount of subtle work that takes place in the night sleep. A lot of this work involves resetting and organizing the inner structure of the field of consciousness itself. When we carry ancestral stresses, we carry neurological wiring that accommodates ancestral belief patterns and habits and tendencies. So part of the story is a rewiring of the nervous system. And this happens in sleep. The nervous system will rewire itself during a day's time. Evidently 70% of the dendrites in the brain reform or restructure themselves. Well, at night it can probably be, and I don't know this for a fact because I haven't actually read any research on it, but I would imagine based on personal experience, it could even be more. It could even be more during a night's sleep. When the nervous system rewires itself, the aim is to rewire within the context of wholeness. The aim is to rewire the nervous system in such a way that it is a better instrument of expressing totality. It is a better instrument of embodying your divine nature. This is the way to support the transformation of the nervous system in the direction of more and more healthy every time. So in that region of the causal body where the underlying frequency or the energy signature of the martyrdom resides, it comes into the, even though carried ancestrally, it tends to lock into the system at a fairly young age. So again, we're going back to little childhood, ourselves in childhood, in our sleep time, Little child selves are receiving a download from your divine self right now. Anytime we kind of like engage and exercise our divine self, this locks it in, it integrates it. So your God presence, I use the word God presence, that's a part of the divine that's just like with you all the time. That part is able to move flexibly through space and time, through following the chords of the astral body. For new people, you can look up causal body and astral body on my website, knowledge base. The God presence goes back to little self, and it goes back to little self, particularly at those times when those night terrors, the times of night terrors. By the way, if you're a parent, you can organize that your children do not ever have night terrors by allowing them to sleep in the same room with you. It's a bit of a sacrifice, but it works. And that is an Ayurvedic principle. One lady said yesterday, oh, are there any other Ayurvedic principles? That is an Ayurvedic principle. It's good until they're about 11. Those little tiny, tender, very vulnerable nervous systems can be quite sensitive to incomplete expressions of consciousness. Let's just call them incomplete expressions. Everything's an expression of divinity. Everything's an expression of wholeness. But sometimes those expressions get overshadowed by their own nature, the separation from wholeness, because totality has to engage with the separation process in order to create the multiplicity and the diversity of the universe, right? So there's a separation principle there. And sometimes if the separation principle overshadows the unification principle, you get forms that don't believe in unification. They don't believe in unity. They don't resonate with unity, which is exactly what happens when the body gets sick, right? And then that's why we have to bring our attention to reestablish wholeness, right? So it's a very simple thing that's happening. Wholeness becomes the whole diversity. It comes back to wholeness. It's really very simple. But the download for little tiny self coming from your God presence right now. So holding that little you, especially at those times when you are feeling overwhelmed by some negative energies or something like that. all the God presence is doing is illuminating the spectrum of ego. It's illuminating the whole range of ego. Because aspects of consciousness that have gotten sort of separated, they feel they're not able to resonate with the wholeness energy. These aspects they feed on anybody else doing the same thing. Anybody or everything else. It's like, right? It's like if a person holds a certain belief, then they like to get together with other people who hold a certain belief because they can all hold the belief together and it kind of strengthens it all up. So what's terrifying to a little tiny person is, oh, that's me. Oh, this horrible, dark, scary thing that I'm experiencing is myself. And I'm like that. I'm like, I can't find my source. I can't find heaven anymore. It's really common to happen around like ages 3, 4, 5, around in there, because that's about the time that a person has to like really commit. It's like, okay, I'm going to be in this world. And I'm going to be like focusing my awareness out toward the material rather than still playing in the field of heaven. Because when they're little, they're like half in heaven all the time. That's when ego starts to come in. Ego. And I'm different. I'm different from everybody around me. When they're first born, they're like, oh, I am just an appendage of this creation. Oh, this is my mother? I am an appendage of that. You know, it's just so cute, so unified. So this bright vision of the spectrum of ego from individuality to universality, and then the wholeness that sits behind us. That's all. It's so simple. It's so simple. The light of that vision is so bright. It's so bright that it literally transforms that darkness. It literally causes that energy that feels separate to evolve. Everything is evolving. Even entities that come at night, they're only here to evolve. Everything is here to evolve. That's the big story that's going down, is the evolution story. And it happens at the material level, the physical material. It happens at the subtle levels. All right, let's get back to this work that we do at night. Anyway, thank you. All blessings. Blessings to your little self. Blessings to your little self for being the instrument of ascension for those structures in creation that lost their way and lost their connection with wholeness. Sorry, I was going to go on to something else, but you know what? It wanted to go one more leg, and that is to extend the download systemically. Okay, you guys are awesome. That's an awesome move. That is awesome. So through your physiology, through all times of your life, of your physiology now, that download has a moment. It has a moment in every sleep cycle. Of the integration of totality being dominating. The integration of totality dominating over the illusion that one is separate from creation. And that is not something that we're just doing. We're doing it for ourselves, and it's good for us. And I can feel it particularly shifting in the central nervous system and in the subconscious and unconscious levels of our individual physiologies, but also in the collective field, particularly in forms of life forms, which I talked a little bit about more yesterday, which are these life forms who do not have physical bodies, but are also can become gripped by a feeling of being separate. I'm seeing a lot of healing going down. I'm seeing healing going down for people who passed out of their bodies and were not able to come to rest. So I guess you call those ghosts. It's a very big healing is going down right now. Like, this is huge. This is just huge. Our bodies are beautiful. They're like these magnificent instruments, musical instruments or something, that are able to produce specific tones or qualities of intelligence. The intelligence hums in the nervous system. In this case, in the central nervous system is humming. It's definitely affecting, for a lot of people, the lower portion of the spine. Is definitely affecting. We've got some rewiring going on at the unconscious level of the mind for the nervous system as it extends into the pelvis, and particularly reproductive organs. These are for all you folks out there who are, even as adults, still being bothered by the feeling of some presence in the night, some presence. That's a restructuring. And what it's doing is it's eliminating that martyrdom energy signature. It's so big and it's going on so sort of systemically. I think what we're going to do is we're going to do the same thing, kind of, and sort of let it go and do what it needs to do, because the divine is orchestrating the whole thing. And we're just, by putting our awareness a little bit more into the physiology, then we're able to make the whole process more efficient. How to get unstuck for some early trauma imprints. Can we program our dreams to help loosen the bonds of fear? The best technique I've found to help for early childhood traumas, which I've also had, is an extension of the exercise that we did yesterday for self-love. Remember, we were doing this, and this is on my website as well. You can find it in the knowledge base and under free offerings. And this exercise where we close the eyes. When you close the eyes, you go into a more quiet, inward-facing mode of awareness. So the awareness starts to go in, and we find this. Allow the divine presence of you, your God presence, to move back through time and to find that little child who is suffering or struggling to whatever degree, and hold that child in a deep embrace. What this does is it communicates the inherent value of your existence. It communicates the fundamental underlying value of your existence to you. And the reason children often have early traumas is because the parents or some other individuals in their environment were unable to clue into or accept their own inherent value, and they communicated that lack of self-love to the child. That's how it happens. So this exercise of holding that child in the loving embrace and allowing your precious, beautiful love to envelop that child and support the child's physiology, structuring neurochemistry that aligns with that feeling of being absolutely beloved, absolutely precious, absolutely sacred, absolutely essential, absolutely essential for the evolution of the whole universe. That communication is so healing. It's probably, I would say, the fundamental, most healing way that we can communicate with ourselves, at least systemically. I mean, if you've got something specific, you know, you've got some issue with some organ of the body or some part, of course, you have to go in and be more like that. But this one process is just so incredibly uplifting.